You know what I'm talking about?
To do when you cared about the rival that truly enjoyed when they did the thing.
I just think those paper bags fit them better than that Super Bowl ring does.
And you have stumbled into some environmental self-consciousness. This is good. Paper over plastic. It's a good thing. First name, the Cowboys. Dallas ended the Saints' 10-game winning streak last night with a dominant defensive performance that forced Drew Brees into his worst game of the season. So, Bo, how did this impressive win impact your assessment of the Cowboys going forward?
All right, so how we assess the Cowboys at this point really doesn't have that much to do with the rest of the league. It has to do with the rest of their division, that someone has to win now that Alex Smith suffered that catastrophic injury, right? There's nothing to say that they cannot win that division. The Amari Cooper trade, was he worth the first-round pick? I don't know, but he sure looks like he's been able to improve the offense that they have here right now. And this is what we had yesterday. If the defense can be this good, which is a lot to ask, but if the defense can be consistently good and Dak Prescott can avoid mistakes, he still puts it on the ground too much, but he did well controlling the ball in the passing game, then they've got a chance to make it to the playoffs.
No, it feels like Jason Garrett has received his...
If the defense can be this good, which is a lot to ask, but if the defense can be consistently good and Dak Prescott can avoid mistakes, he still puts it on the ground too much, but he did well controlling the ball in the passing game, then they've got a chance to make it to the playoffs.
No, it feels like Jason Garrett has received his contract extension early. It feels like the Cowboys defense had like a debutante's ball. They were introduced to high society. Yes, you are now among the company of the Bears. You are now among the company of the Vikings, except those two defenses, Bo, never, to DeMarcus Lawrence's point, choked the life out of an offense like this. This was the number one scoring offense. They held them to 10 points, and this is a team that, can't contend with the best of the NFC West, but they will scare that NFC West team, whoever it ends up being.
Yeah, okay, well, here's the thing I would say here, is that there's a confluence of things here, which is the Cowboys probably playing their best defensive game of the year, and the Saints probably playing their worst offensive game of the year. But you know what? If that's the combination of events that we got to have to give us this Michael Irvin, then damn it, that's just what we're going to have to do. Because he said that Amari Cooper coming in was going to bring the glory and everything else. They were going to play
it's a future so bright, I have to wear my shades or it will blind me. All of these young guys are under 24, and they are rolling. Who that said they're going to beat them Saints? We them Cowboys. We said it.
Michael Irvin got it killed and turned it into a jacket.
You picked against the Cowboys today.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Explain yourself. You might before, but you didn't even believe in the Cowboys.
You can't rob my glory with that story.
You didn't even believe in the Cowboys.
You can't rob my glory with that story.
Smith is not here for
and it has
theater on
nothing to
television.
do with the price
Unused.
of tomatoes here tonight. The Cowboys did what they had to do.
Shout out to the people who stuck around because they knew this would be glorious.
Lots of people waiting for this, and I would have...
Hold on.
Man. Well, here's the thing now. It's very... Give him some medicine.
Just give him a minute.
I got to say, in that moment, I am Team Steve Smith. I'd have come across the table on you if you'd done that in the middle of me talking.
Steve Smith was the guy previously on this program who wanted to basically fight Michael Irvin, and now you have Steve Smith, one of the most talkative men in sports history, just eating it because guess what? Michael Irvin was right. He was right.
Except he said they were going to lose that game.
Well, except for that part.
Look, Steve Smith didn't basically say he wanted to fight Michael Irvin. He said he was going to beat Michael Irvin's bleep because Michael Irvin made a joke about his jacket. He's sitting over there listening to that whole thing just like every day I got to put up with this, and now I got to put up with it like this?
If I'm Steve Smith, part of me obviously regrets the circumstance I found myself in, but I hope he realizes that I want more of that.
I need a Cowboys home playoff game so we can get that Michael Irvin, that Steve Smith, and then Stephen A. Smith in Dallas again. Next name, Saints. New Orleans failed to score 10 points, more than 10 points for the first time in over 3 years. Pablo, was this loss to the Cowboys a one-off blip, or did it expose some serious flaws in the Saints?
So the good news, if you are Sean Payton and Drew Brees, is that you lost the game on the road and it was only by 3. This was a game that really turned on, a Dak Prescott fumble that wasn't as impactful because subsequent penalties wiped out pass interference, blah, blah, blah. This was close is my point. And Drew Brees and the Saints, what is bad for them is that they are mortal. They were an offense like the Rams, like the Chiefs, that had not been treated this way before. When an offense like this has lost in that transcendent group of 3, it's been in a shootout. This is news to them. This is news to us. And it makes them look like the third team of those three offenses.
Well, one thing to note is that they are the third team of those offenses, and they have been the third team of those offenses by the advanced metrics, right? Like there is a gap between the Rams and Chiefs and then where the Saints are. The thing is, there's a big gap between the Saints and everybody else, right? The thing you have to worry about with the Saints, there's a reason that they went and got Dez Bryant. They got Dez Bryant because they needed a number 2 receiver. They have Michael Thomas, who is an individual star himself.
Yes.
The rest of those dudes are going to be getting schemed open. If this gets to the postseason for them, can you depend on your scheme getting people open? Like Drew Brees has played incredibly well, but it's not some magic trick that's making it such that Drew Brees can throw these touchdown passes to cats that used to work at UPS. They're over there standing by themselves in large measure. Do they have guys that themselves can physically make things happen, or are they going to be dependent totally on strategy? Because I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl being totally dependent on strategy.
No, this feels like an outlier of sorts, and it's not just because the Saints are otherwise really, really good. It's because that Cowboys defense, I have not seen Alvin Kamara get caught like he was caught at the goal line by our man DeMarcus Lawrence. I have not seen linebackers like Kyle Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, who look like building blocks, treat this sort of an offense as effectively and as brutally as they did. You have to wonder, like, are the Saints this sort of shaky, or were the Cowboys actually just that
great? You don't have to wonder if the Saints are that kind of shaky. The card said that this is the first time in 3 years that they had scored 10 points or fewer. This is an outlier by definition. Like, we know that it's an outlier. Now, there's a point to some things that they have that you can maybe worry about. Yes. Are they shaky? No. They're the third best offense in the NFL, and the gap between them and everybody else is staggering.
Yeah, but I will say, I am a person who has gone on television and said, I do not see one of these offenses being stopped by a defense, and they finally were stopped.
You're also a person prone to hyperbole.
Well, sometimes. Last name. The Warriors. Golden State lost in overtime last night to Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors despite 51 points from Kevin Durant. Bo was pushing Toronto to OT in Toronto. Actually a good sign for these Warriors.
I mean, it was pretty nifty of them. Look, they're not a deep team. They're down 2 of their 4 best players, including their their number 1 best player. This is encouraging in the sense that, yeah, we've seen them lose some games since Steph Curry went out to teams that we would never think they would have lost a game to.
Yep.
This is one where they made a mad dash comeback at the end. Durant hit that incredible shot to take it in. He scored 50 points. So, yeah, good for you that you kept it close against them, but this isn't so representative of anything that's going to matter when it really matters.
Yeah, the good news out of this game for the Warriors as we watch Durant just do anything he wants is that they're getting peak Kevin Durant right now. He hasn't scored 40 points in 3 straight games, and now he has this stroke that is leading him to take shots like that and take shots like the one in the corner that really only he could make over an outstretched Kawhi Leonard to tie the game and send it to OT. So KD is transcendent right now, and here is that insane. That's insane. But Bo, if you're KD, what you're worried about is that when Steph and when Draymond return, they're not going to want me to do the things that we just marveled at. They're going to want to be a different team, the better version of the Warriors we've seen, and that's going to run through Steph Curry.
Well, they're better when the ball moves. Durant is really good when the ball stops moving.
Yes.
Now, he's a guy that we don't criticize for that necessarily. We criticize Russell Westbrook when he's in Oklahoma City for holding the ball, but the thing is, that's what everybody did over there. It was go for what you know. Like, that was the nature of the offense. It's been an adjustment for Durant getting into what it is that the Warriors do, because when worse comes to worse and you go to what you're comfortable with, he's going to go to doing things like that.
Yep.
With Steph out there, it's not going to be that. I don't think he'll necessarily have a problem adjusting to that or anything as such, because he's been there for a while. But what we saw there is not what they want to do.
No, and look, is there upside in them getting to this point with these guys about to return and them seeming more harmonious than they did when obviously Draymond and KD were publicly fighting with each other? Yes, all of that is good news. I just am not going to be the person to hyperbolically or not declare that this weather system has finally reached some calm.
No. Like, even if it had reached some calm, that's not what the point is, right? Like, nobody thought that they were going to be what they were after that game against the Clippers for the rest of the year, right? Like, even though they're going to be fighting every week, there's going to be ups and downs in these things. What we've seen, though, are cracks in the foundation of what they have. Will those things flare up? Yes, right? Draymond Green basically told you that when he's like, I ain't going to change who I am. Some of that's probably going to come up. It becomes a matter of when it comes up and just how offended somebody gets. But no, we know enough about them to know there is no measure of calm that means the calm is going to be permanent.
Also, KD's still leaving. But coming up, Richard Sherman and Russell Wilson. Speaking of drama.
Ain't no drama.
Are we sure about that?
Yes.
Your attention, please. High Noon is brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste and only 96 calories. High Noon is coming to you from above the Heineken River Deck at Pier 17.
Something dawned on me about you. Do you even interact with any Cowboys fans? I'm from Texas. It's a little different.
I have a friend, Juan Maldonado from New Jersey, and he is one of the people who are Yankees fans and Cowboys fans.
He's of that age?
Yes, absolutely.
You like the Lakers too?
He likes the Knicks, which is
why
I don't make fun of him.
He's a bad bandwagon jumper.
He's a weird masochist in the ways that don't matter. First quote. I don't really have a relationship with Russell, said Richard Sherman leading up to this weekend's 49ers-Seahawks game. Let's listen.
What is your relationship with Russell? I don't really have a relationship with Russell. We were teammates. We played during a very special time for the franchise.
You've seen through the years what Russell is capable of doing.
Yeah, I've also seen him throw 5 picks in a game. So, you see what he's capable of on both sides of it. So you understand that he can be defended. So you go out there and give your team the best shot.
So, Bo, this created a stir of sorts. Are you surprised by this being a stir to some?
Yeah. If you made a stir out of this, you weren't listening. This is why they hate us, right? It's creating a stir out of a situation like this. What surprise would there be that Russell Wilson and Richard Sherman don't hang out with each other? What would indicate to you that these two guys hang out with each other? There's 53 people on a football team. I'm not surprised they don't have a relationship. And the thing about the picks, he's talking about them like you talk about anybody else in that situation.
Yeah, Richard Sherman was being clinical talking about that, but I think the stir emerges when you have a guy in Russell Wilson who just won't say anything bad about Richard Sherman. I think it's just that contrast in personas. You have the guy who is honest and admirably honest, virtuously honest for our purposes as media people, but then you have the guy who just won't play in, and it makes him seem like the virtuous, heroic guy.
But hold on. What did he say bad about Russell Wilson?
No,
that's what I'm saying. That's the thing about our reach here. He didn't even say anything bad about him. Just nah, I don't really run with that dude. Period.
No, he was just being honest. Russell Wilson was asked about Richard Sherman and just called him a Hall of Famer and said, I learned from him. Blah,
totally
blah, blah,
that.
blah.
But I think maybe if he had gotten a different question, right? Maybe it goes in that way. But on that one, hey, what's your relationship with Russell Wilson? Don't got one. Oh, okay, cool. That makes perfect sense given everything else. Now, we know the story apparently had been that the team was bothered and the defense was bothered because Russell got too much, preferential treatment and everything else, Now, Sherman had come out there and been like, I don't have a relationship with Russ because they kept him away from us because we went too hard for that dude. Then there would be a stir. Then there would be something. This is honestly just, we work together. I feel like us as observers, we want to assume relationships among football players that often don't exist because it's 53 of those dudes.
No, absolutely. The offense-defense gap under Pete Carroll was consequential, but I want to make clear something. If you're going to boo Richard Sherman in Seattle, as the Seattle Times predicted, not worth it.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
Not worth it.
All right, quote. We got people who are in high places that have done far worse if you look at it realistically, and they're still up there. This is small potatoes compared to a lot of things out there. Said Washington football legend and senior vice president Doug Williams defending the signing of Reuben Foster. Pablo, what was your reaction to this?
It is hard for me to know increasingly everywhere whether something is incompetence or whether it is strategy and thus malice. And in this case, Doug Williams is out here speaking on behalf of a person we have not heard from, although we have reporting that indicates that Bruce Allen, the actual head of the org chart, is the guy driving the bus behind the Reuben Foster thing. Yes. So, look, if it comes to Doug Williams again, I would hope that he doesn't say stuff like this because he said some very stupid things here. One of the things he said was that it's small potatoes, indefensible. The other thing he said about the high place. Look, man, a football player is also in a high place. The same logic that says we can excuse this because there are people above him in the world also would lead someone to believe that below the football people, maybe it's okay because Washington did this.
Yeah, the small potatoes part is just look, you guys sent out here on an impossible mission to begin with.
Yes.
Right? I don't think there was any way to be successful in having this press conference. John Lynch failed at the press conference when they were releasing the dude, right? However, what are you doing? This just cannot be, no matter what it is, this cannot be the thing you say, no matter how bad it is or anything else. Like when he talked about how this was high risk and they knew there would be a PR pushback, I was like, okay, there's a sincerity there acknowledging that we're just rolling the dice and hoping that this one comes out. You could even make a case for it. You could say that, hey, she lied about this the first time. Maybe she's lying this time, anything else. But that is a galling statement.
Yes, and the statement before, by the way, they misspelled Williams. So I don't really know how much Doug is even really into any of this. The last quote. Kyler Murray is simply the most valuable player in college football. Wrote Jenny Carlson of the Oklahomans. So, Bo, is there a real case to be made that Kyler Murray should win the Heisman?
Yeah, the case is, have you watched this dude play?
He's so good.
Like, this is the closest thing I have seen in college to Michael Vick. Now, the difficulty in the comparison is Michael Vick was like standing out like a Ferrari parked around school buses, like in that primitive offense and everything else. Murray is more a player fit for his times, but he is incredible. He has been incredible since the beginning of the season. Tua, however, came in with the name after the national championship and then managed to exceed our expectations. But I feel like the same way that Murray almost gets demerits because people are so high on the scheme that Lincoln Riley is running. Have you watched those Alabama games? It's not Tua's fault, but them dudes are running wide open. Both of them are great. I don't see a huge difference between the two.
Right. And by the way, whoever wins, I'm happy because this is a Heisman race between two people of vaguely Asian descent. The Asian diaspora is absolutely coming home to roost on this, Bo. And who shall win the Heismasian? Well, I would also agree that Kyler Murray probably deserves the Heismasian because that defense, man, is so bad that you can score so many points, get so many yards, but Tua's also so good. But which Heismasian is better? Yeah, I wouldn't blame you for choosing either one, but Kyler Murray, he's probably my Heismasian.
Coming up next, Diego Maradona gets kicked out of the game. You ever looked at Tua's hair, by the way?
This solid thing for
Innovation that excites.
So what's it going to look like if the Cowboys win a Super Bowl in Michael Irvin's lifetime?
Oh my God.
That's far from guaranteed.
There is going to be so much liquid spilled everywhere around that man's person. Today's number, 51. That's how many points Kevin Durant had in a loss last night against Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors. So Bo was pushing Toronto to OT in Toronto. Actually a good sign for these Warriors.
I guess it's not a bad sign. Look, man, they are a top-heavy team that's down two of their four best players, right? So it was not expected that they were just going to run through this like nothing happened. And Durant looked all kinds of incredible in this game. And a lot of that with Kawhi Leonard, maybe the best perimeter defender in the league, guarding him. Like, this was your reminder that this dude is a monster. He was taking to the rack. He was crossing people over. Like, we forget this is a 7'2" guard. However, this is not reflective of what the rest of the season is going to be, so it's just cool for now.
Yeah, that's the maddening part if you're Kevin Durant. You have a game in which you drive and you dribble and you go to the corner and you do this fadeaway three over Kawhi Leonard. Hit threes from everywhere last night. Here is the game-tying shot. Only KD can truly hit that shot. He has now scored 40 points for 3 straight games, has never done that before, but you saw him jumping in the air and bumping into Steph Curry. The bumping into Steph Curry part when he returns is what's fascinating because this is not how they want to play Bomani. Not when Draymond comes back, not when Steph comes back.
I feel like, though, with some of Kevin Durant's luck, I was so afraid that he was going to do the bump with Steph Curry and then Steph was going to hit the ground and grab his groin. We're like, oh, man, looks like I'm going to be out another 6 weeks.
That would only be more perfect for this season.
Yeah, and that would make Draymond cuss him out again.
Absolutely.
You imagine how bad Draymond would be if you hurt Steph?
Deservedly so. In closing, I would like to encourage all of us to head into our weekends like Diego Maradona has headed into his. Let's watch.
I can tell you I'm not going to do that.
Well, consider it because this is Sinaloa, the team he is coaching, second division Mexican team. They are trying to make the first division. And here's their manager getting kicked out of the game and enjoying every second of that process. Yes, Diego. Yes.
What is there in the world for Diego Maradona to care about?
Absolutely nothing. The fact that he's doing this, the fact that, by the way, his team won this game, they have a second leg to play to make the first division, but he is just out here doing all of the stuff that says, I am Diego Maradona, and you are not?
Yeah.
That must be terrible.
I would also like to say this as I watched this video, and I knew this before, and the same thing is the case with like Messi, and I think the same with Pele, but I just want to say this. I know a lot of you don't. Yeah, but wait, man, I was going to tell the joke. Yeah, I know a lot of you little fellas need an inspiration in life. You know what I mean? Because there's not a lot of places in athletics where the little man has a chance to truly shine, right? You have competitive advantage at golf because you're closer to the ground, so you don't have to reach down
Really?
as far. This could be you, man.
Well,
this could
the reason
be you.
why I anticipated is because
Right.
I know what you're trying to
Right.
do. You're trying to make me a 5'10" American into a representative of the little guys as well, and I am absolutely right above average.
No, I was not going to do that. You apparently are just a short man at heart and got defensive about something that literally does not apply to you.
How dare you?
So you managed to joke in front of my joke and make yourself seem shorter than you are.
You're telling me you
What a
never tried to
great
do
job.
that?
What a great job.
I
Why would I call you 5'6"? You're not 5'6".
Absolutely not.
You're acting like it now, though. In closing, shout out to Payless, or should I say Palesi. Now, yeah, you may understand this, right? Because, you know, people like say Target and Target. So this is the thing with Payless here. They decided to take their actual Payless shoes and put them in like a fancy store and invite what they call influencers in here
They're
to
elegant,
see the fancy
sophisticated.
Payless shoes.
I just think it's
and
so
look at this.
classy.
And I can tell it's made with high quality material.
Yeah. Yeah.
This.
Also, I got a question about these influencers. Who the hell are any of you?
Yeah, that
Who are
was
you
my first
influencing?
thought, was that if you're an influencer, who are you influencing?
Yeah, but this is like an art gallery situation, right? Where, you know, you could have your kid throw something on the wall and somebody will come in and be like, oh my God, I'm so moved by it and everything else.
Yes, this is a metaphor for like streetwear, for all of the fashion economy in general, because we only pay for stuff that people tell us is worth paying for.
I also want to know, because don't Shaq put his shoes in Payless? Or did they leave the Shaqs at home because people are going to look at them and be like, come on, dog, these come from Payless? Or were those the Shaqs? Or they can't have leopard Shaqs, can they?
Not yet, but that's kind of a great idea.
Oh, God. Size 25 leopard, don't see it coming. Enjoy your weekend.